insurrection, obstruction, indictments, civilly liable for sexual abuse. The one man responsible for all that could be sitting in a prison cell on election day and still be elected commander-in-chief for these United States. That man is beholden to Putin, weakened NATO the last time around, and is currently tying himself to wealthy Saudi oil money. He enriched himself when government stayed at his properties. He campaigned on wanting to use government to go after his political rivals and wants to expand executive power. If Donald Trump is reelected, our nation is lost. So let's roll up our sleeves, get to work, and tell the MAGA folks no more before it's too late. Just come to the chat rooms over at liberaldanradio.com, which is the YouTube channel, or on twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. If you noticed, you didn't hear the British woman going, "Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you didn't hear that, it means that Blog Talk Radio is broken again. So no Blog Talk Radio for us today, which means no phone number to call in. Lovely. No Blog Talk Radio. Anyway. So, hey, Mountain Lady, good to see you. Thank you very much. Trucker John's here. We got the Mod Squad, Aaron and Jolie. Got Jeff Curry. Got Steve from across the pond. We've got Chad. Good to see you. Dakota Dave, thank you for joining as well. Appreciate y'all for coming in. We got 11 viewers and 10 likes. I think the 11th probably is me, so I think we're good on total viewers and likes at the moment, so appreciate y'all for liking. It's always good to like the video, share the channel, share the stream, comment, like, and share other videos that you to get the Al Gore rhythms up, because Al Gore needs much more rhythm in order to get us up to the 1,000 subscriber mark here on YouTube. That'll help us reach the partner level, the next partner level, so to speak, to support the show. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitch. Again, twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. Following is free. If you have Amazon Prime, subscribing over there is free. You can buy bits otherwise and support the show that way. You can do super chats, super stickers, become a member over here on liberaldanradio.com as well. Easy for me to say. Become a liberal danimal, and which my wife still gets a kick out of. Yeah, all the different ways you can support. You can do Patreon, patreon.com/liberaldan, patreon.liberaldan.com. Both ways will get you there. You can buy me a cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider button, or you can go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio, Venmo, Liberal Dan as well. Just do friends and family because you're not buying anything. All that other phone. My Waze voice is a British chap, so he gives me the directions, and when I entered a roundabout the other day, and every time I got to the roundabout, on the way to the roundabout and from the roundabout, for some reason he mentioned that he wanted a cup of tea and he wanted 2 sugars. So I don't know why talking about a roundabout made him want to talk about tea and sugars, but whatever. Anyway. So, wow, hitting a trifecta of podcasts, live streams, whatever Mountain Lady is. Appreciate y'all for making the trifecta, hitting the big 3, and I'm the biggest of them all, at least in one way. Size-wise, obviously, we talked about that last week with the me being healthy fat. So this is going to be a shorter show. I was going to set a hard limit on Blog Talk Radio of just an hour, but however, Blog Talk Radio is not working, so can't do that. Now can I? Saturday is the mass for my mother-in-law who passed away on the 11th of this month of April. So we have the service, and we're having people over here in the house. And our house is, with 2 kids and not having cleaned for a while, is a veritable pigsty. So we are having to do lots of work in the house to get things done. So we're going to do a shortened show tonight. We're not going to go as long as we would typically go for, and I'm not going to have a show Wednesday. I need to focus on helping around the house, getting some stuff done. So, I'll put a reminder up on YouTube on Wednesday as well, just to say, hey, reminder, no show tonight, etc., etc. But, if you miss me, you could always watch old shows. I think one of my best shows to watch, if you want to watch a show on Wednesday, is my very special episode when I talk about living life as an obese person. I do highly recommend that one. I go really in depth. I get really personal. I think it's long. It's a 3-hour show. And we whatchamacallit. It's something about a half an hour in. We definitely get into a lot of details over what not just me personally, but other people who are of larger size have to deal with. Chad. Maybe we should band together as a chat and make enough YouTube accounts to get Dan over 1,000. I've hinted at that before, but I haven't necessarily strongly encouraged it, but I have hinted at that. I would be lying if I said that several of my accounts that follow me are not my own. I have Budget Ears, Nerdy Dan, Rideshare Dan, my personal account. There's like at least probably 5 that are my own accounts that follow myself here. So, yeah, it is what it is. I don't have the clip to play, so I can't do it. Mountain Lady, yes, fluffy. I'm a fluffy individual. Let's see. Aaron, your car is broken. Oh no. Chad, sorry for. I appreciate the thing. Look, I'm Jewish, so I get gallows humor. I've made jokes myself around when it refers to, as it pertains to the loss of loved ones. I may have brought this up on the show before, I don't know, but when I have told my friends about this before, when my grandfather, I went to go see Avengers Infinity War, and so I turned my phone off, as a good movie patron does. And I turned my phone back on. When I turned my phone back on, my text messages came up, and I received a text message from my dad saying that my grandfather had passed away. It was either text or voicemail or whatever. And the time that it would have come in was probably right around the time that Thanos would have snapped away half the universe. And so my first thought that entered my mind was, damn it, Thanos snapped away my grandfather. Of course, then once I had time to process it all, I started, actually getting upset about the whole thing. But, it was, that's how a lot of the times, I and others deal with pain and deal with sorrow, is through humor. And my family always, we have a thing in our family where we just call it Zimmerman humor, because we add on extra bad jokes, everything. So, if it was a Scottish voice, it'd be beer. What else? Oh, the pin chats again. I'm still doing this Misty Island game. The one thing I am doing long, in order to get this thing going, the Misty Island game, Misty Continent Cursed Island, that's pinned to the top of the Twitch and the YouTube channels. We have, I'm only up to $11 at the moment, but it's very easy to get your stronghold to level 7 in that game. It's free to do. It's not as easy to get your stronghold to level 13. There's some, you got to sit there and follow the instructions and kind of, go back every once in a while and get it done. You could get your stronghold to level 7 in one sitting in like 20 minutes or so. Level 13 is a little more. If you get your stronghold to level 7, you get me $6. If you get your stronghold to level 13, you get me $5. If you purchase $4.99 pack, you get me $10. That's one of the things you could do to help the show. If you download the game and you purchase a $4.99 tier up package or whatever, it actually says this is a tier up package or whatever, you get me $10. So if you download that's one of the ways you could help the show. You download the game, play it, get your stronghold to level 7, and then for $4.99 you buy the game and you basically double your money. It's nice. The other way to do it, there's also the tier 2 pack. If you buy a $19.99 package, you get me $20, which gives me an extra penny. But it's really more efficient than any of the other ways, because if you do a $20 super chat on YouTube, or if you if you buy bits or any other subscriptions, it also is I don't get all the money, they take the money. In this case, if you buy a $19.99 package on the game too, I get $20, so I actually get a penny more. So if you wanted to help me that, and I've confirmed that it works with other games, so if you want to help me out that way, you don't have to spend the money. You could just, get me the $3. I'm sorry, it's $3 for the Stronghold level 7. It gets me a little extra bucks. Like with the last game that I promoted, I made $3.50. So just a nice little chunk of change. I'm not going to do as well with this one. I'm hoping to be able to get the Star Trek one, which is one I was hoping to get this time, but they ran out of slots. So anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about with that one for now. But download the game if you want. The link is in the video description if you want to download it after the show. It has to be on mobile. But again, it's real easy to do. Just it's another way to help out the show for free. Or if you wanted to, pay a little bit, it potentially doubles the money or avoids the processing fees or whatever that comes with other forms of supporting the show financially. So anyway, it is what it is. So thank you, Bill, for being a Danimal for 2 months. Appreciate you for that as well. Always love the Danimals. Love everybody who watches the show. Free or paid, it's always awesome. I love the support. Makes me feel good to have the support and to just be able to have gotten to the point where I can get monetized. Is some place where I thought there was some point where I thought it was unreachable, and the fact that y'all have made it there, helped me make it there, is means a lot. So thank y'all. I really do appreciate it. One of the things that's interesting before we move off the death topic is I've been trying to help my wife as much as possible when it pertains to issues that, some of the, not the financial issues, but the paperwork issues or the mundane issues that you have to deal with. And I've been surprised at how easy it's been to get this stuff done. Like, I was shook that I was able to get some of this stuff. Like my mother-in-law was a retired teacher, so she was getting the retired teacher pension in Louisiana. And so I called up Friday, and I was like, hey, my mother-in-law passed away. I need to know what it is that we need to do so I can get all the information together so that we can stop the pension payment so we don't have to have all these money refunded to her. And they're like, okay, well, what's her social? I didn't have the social on me, but what's her birthday? What's her name? I gave both. They looked it up. What date she passed away? I gave her that date. They said, okay, well, they are going to pay out the next month, but it will be taken back. But we're going to mail. What's a good mailing address? We'll send you the mail. We'll send you the stuff in the mail. You'll get it in the mail, and there you go. And you just fill that out, and you'll be done with it. And I was like, oh, okay. So even though I'm not next to kin technically, I was able to get that taken care of, no problem. And then today, apparently she had a Mutual of Omaha life insurance policy, and I called up and I was like, "Hey, I'm wanting to get all the information in. My mother-in-law passed away, so just what do I need to do to get do you have a policy number? No, I don't have a policy number. We haven't found that yet. What's her birth date? What's her name? Here we go. What day? What's the causes? Blah 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 blah." So I got all the information. All after I did what I did, all my wife had to do was call in and just confirm, and the check is in the mail. And I'm like, that's ridiculously easy. So fortunately, those things have been made easy for us, so that the other things that are coming down the pipe, like dealing with the house, dealing with the mortgage, dealing with transferring the car title, and this other succession issues, are going to be probably whatever. DB going, that should only be for the deceased power of attorney. Well, my wife is the next of kin, but they just needed the confirmation on the insurance policy, I guess. So, but basically, I was able to give them enough information so that my wife could just say yes or something like that. So they're making it. I guess they're just making it so that I can give them the information that they need, and then my wife can just check it off. And I guess because we're married, and then my wife is going to be named the person who's in charge of the succession anyway, once our attorney gets over the stomach bug or whatever. Anyway, Jeff Curry, I make fun of myself all the time. I deserve it. Other day, the doctor's ready when I noticed a woman with shoes on the wrong feet. Then I noticed her legs were crossed. Let's see. Chad Bosick, I'm a T4 paraplegic. I once referred to myself as a cripple in front of a fellow chair user. The look on her face made me realize I effed up. Hilarious. Lots of funny stuff in the chat. Anyway, so let's talk about some of the other stuff. Cruella DeVille, Kristi Noem, governor of South Carolina? South Dakota. I'm sorry, South Dakota. Wrong South. Wrote in her new book about how she killed her puppy. And, why did she think that telling this story was going to be okay? Why did she think that did nobody think that this is going to be a good thing? It's bizarre that this person could have potentially have been the vice presidential choice for Donald Trump. Now, she still could be. Donald Trump could very well not care. I don't like dogs. I think I think we should do with what she did with dogs, with other things as well, and not to name names or something like that. Maybe Trump will be like, we should use her as an example on how to deal with certain other people. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Crooked Hillary and Sleepy Joe, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Donald Trump would say that. Don't think I'm saying that Secret Service. And the copy of the book is No Going Back. The name of the book is No Going Back, The Truth on What's Wrong with Politics and How We Move America Forward. No going back, all right, because holy crap. Cruella DeVille is like, Governor Noem is not gonna live in the vice president's home. Tim Farrell. Yeah, the ghost of Old Yeller. I was thinking of Old Yeller as well, and I was like, did Christy Noem like grow up as a kid and look at Old Yeller and think it was like a feel good story? Like, come on. DB Golding, I have no problem shooting the dog was in agony or just tore a child to pieces. To shoot it because he did not train it to your level is unacceptable. Where's the effort to rehouse it? Exactly. Well, sort of. Like, yeah, if you're going to protect, if the dog is currently in the process of trying to maim, murder, kill, or whatever, then yes, you have to take action. But if it didn't seem like that action was, that she was in the process of saving another living being, be it a chicken or a human or whatever, she should have trained her animal better. And if it was time to, if it wasn't in the process of, you know, if you weren't in the process of actually killing anybody or anything, the dog could have been put down in a more humane way. If the dog really needed to be put down, but the dog could have just been rehoused and maybe given to somebody else who might have been able to train the puppy. It was still a puppy. Into a loving creature. But this is just par for the course for Republican politicians. They don't give a crap about life. This is just another example of how Republican politicians don't care about life. Period. They don't care whether or not people are swimming across the border in the Rio, swim across the Rio Grande, and they put up the berms with the razor wire, and then they don't want people to come help save their lives. They'll just let people die in a river. They'll let people die from complicated pregnancies because they don't want to force people to commit an abortion. The pregnancy's already aborted in that case. Or they'll just shoot a dog in the head because it killed a chicken. And then they'll go to Popeyes. Well, no, actually, Christy Noem will probably go to Cane's or something because the chicken's probably, or no, Christy Noem's probably going to go to Chick-fil-A. Yeah, these are the DB Golding over in Twitch. These are the pro-life people. Exactly. They're the pro-life people to boot. They claim to be pro-life, but they're not. They're the death cult. They didn't care about anybody's lives when it came to the pandemic, neither. They don't care how many people die, as long as they're not inconvenienced. Susanna, how does she sleep at night? Probably in a coffin. I mean, wouldn't she go to Shooters? Maybe. Christy Lewandowski Noem. Yeah. She stopped to talk to the family. Cricket got out of the Noem truck and attacked and killed some of the family's chickens and then bit the governor. Well, you know. The dog knew that the governor was a threat. That was a good dog. That wasn't a bad dog. The dog understood that the governor was a threat. The dog was just trying to protect the dog's life. And she goes, I hated that dog, deeming her untrainable. At that moment, I realized I had to put her down. She led Cricket to a gravel pit and killed her. That wasn't all. Noem writes that her family also owned a nasty and mean male goat that smelled bad and used to chase her kids. She decided to go ahead and kill the goat too. She writes that the goat survived the first shot, so she went back to the truck, got another shell, then shot him again, killing him. She must have tortured animals as a kid. I think she probably tortured animals as a kid. Jeff Curry, wait just a goddamn minute. Puppies will bite? Yeah, the heck you say? Biting puppies. I mean, Holy crap, that's what puppies do. They bite. You know, you train them to not bite, but they start off, they bite, and you have to train them to not bite. And you have to take some personal responsibility in that whole thing. But, you know. Hey, TV2, what's going on? Good to see you. Oh, Metis, Kevin Anderson, also here. Good to see you as well. So, yeah. People are saying that this might be the end of Kristi Noem as a possibility for the vice presidency, but you could never tell with Trump. I mean, the end of the Trump presidency should have been grab her by the hoo-ha. Just move in on her like a whatever. That should have been the end of his politics, but then he won. That was back in 2015, 16 or whatever, when that was revealed. So no. If you had her on the ticket with Donald Trump, there is a significant number of Americans who would be like, well, she's still better than Kamala Harris. Actually, no. They wouldn't pronounce her name right. They would say Kamala. So, still better than Kamala Harris and Sleepy Joe Biden. They wouldn't care. The fact that she killed a dog, they'd probably find an excuse as to why killing a dog was okay. They'd probably go out and kill a dog themselves just to stand in solidarity with her. They'd come out with, like, certs about killing dogs or something. Chad, she won't be VP 1,000% guarantee of that. I'm just saying, people said that there was no way that Donald Trump would be president after he talked about walking up on women like a witch or whatever and grabbing them by the hoo-ha, and he became president nonetheless. So, I mean, she might not become vice president, but she could very well be the nominee. Now, are there people who Trump might have as better candidates? Sure. DB Golding, she seems like the kind of person that would not blink when they drowned kittens in a bucket of water. Probably not. She'd be like, I hate those kittens too. They meowed all the time, and their claws just dug into I couldn't stand that their claws dug into me, so I had to drown them in a bucket. Thank you, Kristi Noem. Thank you for your service. We're pro-life. Except for all the people and animals we hate. Then we'll kill them all. Tim Farrell, that goat was woke. Woke, I tell you. A woke goat. The goat came up to the kids and started butting them with his head like goats do. Maybe you shouldn't have animals. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe there's a common problem here. It's that the Noem family shouldn't have animals. Simple as that. Maybe there comes a point where you have to realize the problem is you. Don't own an animal. Only the best and the brightest. I'd place my money on. I don't know about Tim Scott. I don't know. It took a very long time, like 6 different tries to try and explain his stance on abortion. Then again, Trump has hemmed and hawed and tried to explain his stance on abortion, and it hasn't quite landed on a particular exact space neither. Because they can't. Because first Trump says there has to be punishment for the woman. Then Trump says 15-week nationwide ban. But how can you have a nationwide ban if the federal government doesn't have the authority to do anything about abortion, according to Dobbs? So, a woke goat. That should be somebody's like new username, or maybe that's a band name. The Woke Goat. Noem is one to talk about aggressive and untrainable. Yes, that would be her. So, let's see. So the other thing I wanted to talk about today, in this brief show, because I did want to have a show today. I didn't want to just leave everybody hanging. The arson, bedwetting, and cruelty to animals are the trifecta trademarks of psychopathy. And usually the cruelty to animals is the big one. And, I mean, Noem shows it there. So, I was kind of shook when they were going over the abortion debate in the Supreme Court, and you had Amy Coney Barrett. She was asking some questions about the Idaho case, and this is crazy. Like, let's listen to this
very
real
case
quick.
by case. The example
That's the
from
problem.
I'm kind of shocked, actually, because I thought your own expert had said below that these kinds of cases were covered. And you're now saying they're not?
No, I'm not saying that. That's just my point, Your Honor, is that...
Well, you're hedging. I mean, Justice Sotomayor is asking you, would this be covered or not? And it was my understanding that the legislature's witnesses said that these would be covered.
Yeah, and those doctors said if they were exercising their medical judgment, they could, in good faith, determine that life-saving care was necessary. And that's my point, is it's a subjective
But some
standard.
doctors couldn't. Some doctors might reach a contrary conclusion, I think, is what Justice Sotomayor is asking you. So if they reach the conclusion that the legislature's doctors did, would they be prosecuted under Idaho law?
No. If they reach the conclusion that the Dr. Reynolds, Dr. White did, that these were life-saving...
What if the prosecutor thought differently? What if the prosecutor thought, well, I don't think any good faith doctor could draw that conclusion, I'm going to put on my expert?
And that, Your Honor, is the nature of prosecutorial discretion.
And here, I mean, this is just, you have ultra-conservative, pro-life, pro-forced birth, Amy Coney Barrett, seemingly going after the Idaho people, basically questioning why its ambiguity, and seeming to kind of drawing a line and saying it's going too far. What? I'm shook. When I was listening to Amy Coney Barrett during some of those hearings, I was literally just jaw dropped. I was like, who did you replace Amy Coney Barrett with Folgers crystals and trying to see if anybody will notice? Bizarre. Absolutely crazy that this happened. But that's not the main thing that I was wanted to talk about today, but I did want to talk about that one briefly because, you know, once this ruling comes down, and once the ruling on Trump's immunity or lack thereof comes down, I did want to talk about that as well. But Alito starts off his quote, and of course it's Alito. Alito, we're either gonna get my assumption is going to be that the court is going to say, if they make a ruling and not kick it back to the lower courts, that the Supreme Court's going to basically say that the president has presidential immunity on anything written out in the Constitution that's his powers, but that if it's not specified his powers, that he doesn't have presidential immunity. Like, if he's exercising a power, he has immunity. If he's not exercising a power, it's not immunity. So for a case, in this particular case, you know, when he's talking about elections, the president doesn't have an authority over elections, and as such, he doesn't have immunity on election-related matters. Or something like that. That would be them making a point. But But the point is that you have a lot of conservatives that are confused here, because there are conservatives that are trying to say, if you don't rule that Trump has absolute immunity, then that means that presidents have no immunity, and then you can go after Obama and Biden. I'm like, no, just because, let's say, because just it's not black and white. A president can not have absolute immunity. It doesn't mean he has no immunity. He can have some immunity. But the fact that a president would have immunity in this particular case is absurd. But what else is absurd is Alito. And Bill, it's also a strong possibility that they'll send the immunity case back to lower court to stall some more and help Trump. Excuse me. But Alito started off by saying, I'm sure you would agree with me that a stable democratic society requires that a candidate who loses an election, even a close one, even a hotly contested one, should leave office peacefully if that candidate is the incumbent. And, everybody should agree with that. But let's listen to what Alito has to say.
Let me end with just a question about what is required for the functioning of a stable democratic society, which is something that we all want. I'm sure you would agree with me that a stable democratic society requires that a candidate who loses an election, even a close one, even a hotly contested one, leave office peacefully if that candidate is the incumbent.
Of course.
All right. Now, if an incumbent who loses a very close, hotly contested election knows that a real possibility after leaving office is not that the president is going to be able to go off into a peaceful retirement, but that the president may be criminally prosecuted by a bitter political opponent, will that not lead us into a cycle that destabilizes the functioning of our country as a democracy? And we can look around the world and find countries where we have seen this process, where the loser gets thrown in jail.
So I think it's exactly the opposite, Justice Alito. There are lawful mechanisms to contest the results in an election. And outside the record, but I think of public knowledge, petitioner and his allies filed dozens of electoral challenges, and my understanding is lost all but one that was not outcome determinative in any respect. There were judges that said in order to sustain substantial claims of fraud that would overturn an election result that's certified by a state, you need evidence, you need proof. And none of those things were manifested. So,
all right, so there you go with Alito again. So Alito's basically saying, basically putting the blame on a bitter opponent coming into office and trying to say, okay, he's going to go after the person who just left office. But what if it's the case that you have a criminal who's actually in office and leaving office? Why shouldn't the person who's going into the newly elected person and their Justice Department be able to go after the person? And we shouldn't be saying, we shouldn't be using as an argument, well, a criminal president who's leaving office should be protected from the crimes that he committed simply because of the fact that he might not want to leave office out of fear that he might be arrested. No, maybe we should have a thing saying presidents shouldn't commit crimes in office because they should have a fear that they'll be held accountable for the crimes either by being impeached while in office and then by being convicted of those crimes after being removed from office. But impeachment has been made to a political thing by the Republicans, so you can't remove somebody via impeachment if they're a Republican because the Republicans are going to have their back. And now you have the silly Republican theory that says that you can't remove somebody from office or even if somebody isn't removed from office via impeachment, then you can't convict them of a crime for any action that they took that may have been illegal during their presidency. Which means, according to Donald Trump's own lawyer's legal theory, Joe Biden could have his SEAL Team 6 walk up to Donald Trump right now, off him, and as long as the Senate doesn't convict, Joe Biden can't be convicted of a crime. That's the Donald Trump legal argument. In a nutshell. It's bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. And this is the person that the Republicans want to have in office. This is the legal system that we're going to have because Donald Trump's Justice Department is going to follow these legal theories, and our country's going to go to shit. And there are people who are going to look at Biden and whatever problems they have with Biden and be like, "Oh, well, we'll just have to go to shit then." They don't understand. They're not creative enough to think of what the hell could go wrong and how many people could be harmed simply because of the fact that they have disagreements with Biden. There could be strong disagreements with Biden. But Biden is the adulterer, as Biden said at the correspondence dinner. And I didn't get to see all of Biden's speech on Saturday night, but he said that he was the age is a factor in this election, that he's the 80-year-old or whatever, and that Trump is the 6-year-old, which is fairly correct. So, yeah, Bill P. Alito wants a monarchy. I don't know if Alito understands what a monarchy is. Alito's pretty dumb. Like, Alito is his rulings that he's authored are the worst rulings that I've ever read. It's crazy. What's up, Bicycle Mike? Good to see you. Let's see. Barrett is the scorpion tail. No, yeah, I mean, I didn't like Barrett from the get-go. I mean, but I predicted that it was going to be her. That's the thing. When my concern with Trump is that I was saying back in 2016 that if Trump gets elected president and Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies, that he's going to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg with Amy Coney Barrett. And everyone's like, that's not going to happen. It happened. Hey, Pisces. TK, what's going on? See, Barrett has lots of kids, I believe, and some adopted, I believe, as well. That's what makes her opinion different slightly than cookie-cutter conservatives. I don't know about that, Chad. I don't think that makes her opinion any different than just because she adopts a lot more. I don't think that. I mean, maybe she's putting a little bit of her money where her mouth is when it comes to actually adopting instead of just arguing about being pro-life. And then those who will say people should adopt, and then give their kids up for adoption, and then they don't adopt themselves. Well, okay, fine, she's adopting herself. Good for her. But still, she's still wanting to use her position in government to push her religious beliefs onto other people, which is wrong. But if you have Amy Coney Barrett saying that suggesting that your position on abortion is too strict because it would force like people to die, like, you've jumped the shark. Absolutely, you've jumped the shark. They will make them distinguish between personal acts and acts of duty that have lower courts decide that point. Leader operates under the assumptions that we have decided. Yeah. All 5 of the male conservative justices have money scandals. What's the Gorsuch money scandal? Well, if they start handing out immunity, Dark Brandon can expand the court now. Nice. Maybe. I don't know if court expansion really just needs both houses. So I don't know how he expands the court without both houses being in control. So KQB, it sounded like Barrett was concerned there was not a strict, unambiguous standard. Yeah, there was another line also that where she was talking where I think she was also questioning. I think she got into more detail though about how about how somebody should be able to know what the answer is. She said, to me, it seemed like it wasn't just about the ambiguity, but that it was also about the fact that, that perhaps this is going a bit too far, even for her. But anyway. Bicycle Mike, Barracuda is one of my top rock songs. Unfortunately, Heart was at Jazz Fest in New Orleans this weekend, but Jazz Fest tickets are way too expensive, and I did have other plans, so I was not able to go see Heart at Jazz Fest this weekend. Let's see. Kinky is the fact that one doctor prosecutor would be okay, another one would not be. Well, yeah, I mean, there is the problem of ambiguity, and that's the problem. If she didn't care, if she was really okay with the law and not worrying about, she would be fine with prosecutors being able to go after people. Or I think she might have worded it a little differently. I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic about the whole thing. I don't know. And I'm typically not overly optimistic about this activist conservative Supreme Court. But maybe, just maybe, I'm sitting here and thinking that as a woman, Amy Coney Barrett understands that, while she's pro-life and extremely so, maybe she kind of realized that these laws go way too far because they're forcing people who are patients who are in difficult pregnancies that are already being aborted naturally. They're forcing these people to risk their own lives. Let's see, DB Golding, do you think the Supreme Court would ever allow any president to have power over them? I believe that 5 of these conservative activist Supreme Court justices would absolutely declare fealty to Donald Trump. I think so. And that's what they seem to be doing when it comes to them stalling for Donald Trump. They're stalling for him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around that. They could have taken the case on immunity earlier. They did not. Jack Smith wanted the immunity case heard earlier. They passed. They let it go through the lower courts first. They could have heard it sooner. They did not. They're stalling for him. They're allowing this case to drag on. And the only logical reason is to let the election come first. Because if he gets elected, what happens? He then gets to appoint his own Justice Department officials, and then the case goes away. So Stalin for Trump. Great slogan, yeah. That is funny. The Supreme Court, Stalin for Trump. But not a chance for what? That Coney Barrett thinks that it's that even this might have gone too far, or that they're stalling for Trump, or that they would declare fealty for Trump. Which one? Let's see. Big Hook, the problem is also because all fetal anomalies defects occur after 6 or 15 weeks. Pro-life is an oxymoron for these faux conservative people. Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't, there are some things that even occur later. I mean, all abortions, 99.5% of all abortions take place before the 20 or 22nd week. All abortions that take place afterwards, i.e. the late-term abortions, all of those abortions that take place have nothing to do with choice. It has everything to do with people having to make a decision on a pregnancy that they wanted, and they don't want to get rid of, but they have to because their own lives are in danger, or their health is in danger, and they don't. The conservatives don't care. They just don't care because they're not about life. Oh, Trump won't be president. Okay. I wish I had your faith. I wish. I didn't believe Trump would be president in 2016 either. No, I don't underestimate the power of the voters' ability to cut off their noses to spite their faces. You have a lot of people who are sitting here claiming that they're going to stay home. They're not going to vote Biden. Yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, the Republicans lost a lot of people from COVID because they died. The Republicans also have a lot of people who are saying they're not going to vote for Trump. Whether or not they follow through and don't vote for Trump is a completely different issue altogether. That's a completely different issue altogether. Airplane reference. Basically, Georgia Democrat registration is outpacing the GQP by 13,500 registrations. Well, I mean, good, but how many registrations are they going to expunge before the election, right? You know, Republicans love to throw ballots out and not throw ballots out. Well, they would love to throw ballots out too, but Republicans love to expunge voters as well. And when they expunge voters, they typically do so removing Democrats at a disproportionate rate than they do Republicans. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, Tim Farrell, a lot of people want to see everything blow up. So yeah, there are a lot of people who just want chaos. And a lot of people who want to punish Biden and think that, you know, the minimal harm that'll happen if Biden loses is worth it to prove their point. Although if Biden loses, it's not minimal harm that's going to happen. It's major harm that's going to happen. And they just don't seem to get it. Yeah, I know. He only wanted 11,800. I mean, let's hope that Stacey Abrams can continue doing a great job in Georgia getting those people out. But it's not just Georgia. You need to get the people in Michigan. You know, Michigan has to come out. Now, again, you know, I did do a video, or I did cover the numbers issue when it came to Michigan, when they said, oh, the number of people that came out for Biden, there was 100,000 people that came out for Biden, and well, maybe, but the same amount of people didn't come out for Obama in the 2010 primaries or whatever, 2012 primaries. Yeah, it was the 2012 primaries. They didn't come out for him in the 2012 primaries, but he still won the state. So, you know, there's those historical context to issues to take into consideration, where this is not a not normal thing. I guess this is a normal thing that, you know, 10% goes to somebody else, regardless of who the somebody else is. But you still have to win Michigan. You still have to win Wisconsin. And the thing is that even though we shouldn't trust the polls still shouldn't be this close. It's ridiculous that they are this close. And polls can be manipulated. I get it. But this should be a blowout. We have an ex-president on trial for how many things? Who's an utter embarrassment. Who on audio, he's on audio showing people classified information. Like, and they don't care. Because you have a bunch of treasonous people who are Republicans who have no problem voting for the traitor, who have audibly said that they would have no problem with him being a dictator because maybe that's just what we need. It's terrible. Anyway, Wisconsin is turning blue. Well, one of the reasons Wisconsin is turning blue is because they were actually able to, I think, redraw the maps again and get the court back. So that's one of the reasons that Wisconsin is turning blue. I'm not as concerned about Wisconsin as I am as concerned as Michigan, because Michigan has the very large Muslim population in Dearborn, and the Muslim people have an issue with Biden's support of Israel. And everybody should have a problem with Israel's actions. I'm just saying Israel is going to get a blank check under Trump. And not only is Israel going to get a blank check under Trump to do whatever they want to do to Hamas and the Palestinian people. I mean, Hamas should be gone, but Israel's going to carpet bomb Gaza until there's nothing left but rubble if Trump gets into office. And then by Ukraine, by NATO, by anybody else who Putin doesn't like, because Trump is Putin's puppet. So yes, it's going to get objectively worse for the people living in Gaza, for the people living in the West Bank, and for many other people across the globe. But these people don't care because they want to stick it to Biden. So, anyway. Yeah, the only poll that happens, the only poll that counts is in November. Yes, I know. But people will let us all know what they're thinking now, and what they're thinking now is still kind of scary. So we need to push hard. We need to bear down, so to speak. So a lot of people turning in because of COVID. That was the only crap that they knew at the time. There was so much more than that have learned since then. His support is much lower. Polls are BS. Problem is the polls are BS, but the polls are BS, and the polls were BS in that they were wrong and Trump had more support than what we thought in 2016. So the polls were BS in the favor in that Trump got more last time. So yes, polls are BS, but sometimes polls undercount conservatives, as they did in 2016. Fowler's Wrath. Biden is the Palestinians' best hope for peace. I agree. I agree with that 100%. But you can't. But people who are mad at Biden for what's going on and for his some of the optics that Biden has done when it comes to, embracing Netanyahu and being friendly at the beginning and not being overly critical of what they were doing at the start of how they responded to 10/7 is, people are understandably frustrated. I understand why people who especially people with family in Gaza, people with family in the West Bank, why you would be understandably frustrated with U.S. policy as it pertains to Israel. But you gotta understand how bad it's going to be if Trump becomes president. Yes, it's called diplomacy, and I've talked about that. I have a whole series of videos on why we're on the whole issue about that. I have a whole series of videos why, we were used to Donald Trump, the guy that aired everything publicly, and how Biden was probably doing lots of things in back channels, trying to get things done diplomatically, which is why we got several pauses and some hostages released. I have videos on that already talking about that. But people didn't want to. People can't see what's going on in the background, so they're frustrated because they don't see it, so they don't know what's going on. Because I trust my grandparents, and my grandparents told me. I don't know where that's going. We're not ending yet. Soon, but not yet. I trust my grandparents. My grandparents worked in his first campaign, and they said he's a good person. I trust him that he's a good person. And yeah, Bicycle Mike. There are people who do not care. They don't have time for. What's up, Dean Baker? Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's see. No side for policies or nuance. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like my position on Israel and Gaza and the Palestinian people is much more nuanced than a lot of people have time or patience for as well. Like, people want... There are a lot of people who just were like, well, there should be no Israel. Well, how do you do that? It's like the people who say there should be no Israel, we should just eliminate it. There are the same type. There should be no America because they're of the Native Americans. Well, yeah, we shouldn't have. The people back then shouldn't have taken lands away from the Native American people. That being said, how do you unring that bell? Kind of hard to do that now, isn't it? Let's see. That music sounds like a commercial on CBC Gem Scotiabank. I don't know. It's free music from YouTube. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Biden threatens Netanyahu with cutting off Israeli aid and military funding. I mean, it's possible, but here's the thing that I've told the people who are like, we should have cut off funding now for Israel aid. Let's say Biden did what the folks who are angry at Biden did and just said, nope, no more funding for Israel, we're done. Well, then Israel will have nothing left to lose, and they would go full-on assault with everything. They have no reason to hold back. If we have the treats dangling over them, then we have leverage. And we can use that leverage in negotiations, which includes the threat of pulling that leverage away, pulling those treats away, so to speak, pulling the ammunition away, pulling the armaments away, etc. So it's easy. Everybody thinks that there should be no Israel, that the Muslims should get all of Israel is the problem. Well, there is that issue as well, because there are people who refuse to criticize Hamas, and Hamas's charter wants to create that whole area into a Islamo-fascist ethno-state, and what happens to the Jews then who live over there? They'll be ethnically cleansed, and you probably won't hear the same things coming from the people who are talking about ethnic cleansing and genocide of the Palestinian people, because hypocrisy knows no bounds. Because when it happens to Jewish people, people are much more silent about it. That's why I support a two-state solution. And it used to be people who support a two-state solution weren't called Zionists, because the people who were self-proclaimed Zionists would reject you because they believe that the entire area belonged to Israel or should belong to Israel. So if you dared suggest that the West Bank and Gaza Strip should belong to the Palestinian people, or you supported land for peace, you were shunned by the Zionists. And now, if you say you support a two-state solution, you're a Zionist. I was in a discussion the other day where I was called a liberal Zionist because I was blaming Netanyahu and calling him a war criminal. And because the problem with blaming Netanyahu is you're not blaming the existence. The problem is not Netanyahu. The problem is the existence of Israel to begin with. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have an aneurysm. Dean Baker, you're welcome. It's hard to type with a puppy climbing on you. No worries. There's not a gravel pit around. We did talk about that earlier, Dean. What kind of pup? Yeah, Fowler's Rathets is right. In order to dangle the carrots, there's got to be a fear of losing them. Liberal Dan is easier spell. I'm sticking with it. Wait, what? Is he Netanyahu's war criminal? Absolutely, he is a war criminal, and he should be dragged in front of the Hague, as should all of the leaders of Hamas, and anybody who funds Hamas should be dragged in front of the Hague as well. Dachshund mix. Oh. Anyway, so yeah, it's just so bizarre arguing with these people. Yes, it's 1 hour. I know. I noticed. I always like to go a little long, even though. So I do want to remind everybody again. If you haven't liked the video, please like the video. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Share videos with your friend. Watch other videos, etc. You can support the show, Liberal Dan Radio, all over the place. Twitter, Buy Me a Coffee, Facebook, etc. LiberalDanRadio.com is the YouTube channel. Twitch.tv/LiberalDanRadio is the Twitch channel. LiberalDan.com if you want to buy me a cider. Directly just click the image. You can follow me on Twitch. You can subscribe to the channel for free if you have Amazon Prime. You can become a Liberal Danimal on YouTube for as little as $2. You can gift subscriptions or memberships on Twitch and YouTube respectively. You can buy bits and super stickers, super chats on Twitch and YouTube respectively, etc. You could download the game that's pinned in both chats for free, play the game for free, get your base to level 7 and 13 respectively to get me additional funds. Buy the $4.99 or the $19.99 package, or buy a $4.99 and/or a $19.99 to get me more additional funds, whatever. Gets more bang for your buck. That also helps out. Yada, yada, yada. That's about 3.5 more days left, I think. Tomorrow I am doing a Nerdy Dan stream. I am going the full 3 hours for the nerdydan.com stream. Twitch.tv/nerdydan.com. I do have to have that handled because I do need the full 3 hour stream in order to be able to earn the money that I get from the campaign from the link above. Anywho. There is some stuff I want to talk about Israel, but I don't have enough evidence to talk about it yet. There was reports of a mass grave that was found. Israel denies the mass grave. Hamas is saying it was Israel's mass grave. I have questions. I don't put it beyond Netanyahu to have said, okay, do a mass grave. I don't put it on beyond Hamas to be like, let's put a mass grave together and blame Netanyahu for it. Do we know what happened? We don't know. So there's that. Anyway, so this is going to be the end of today's episode and this week's episode again, because I'm not going to be doing a show Wednesday because I have lots of stuff to do before Saturday's mass, and I'm not really calling it a funeral, but I guess it's more of a celebration of life of my mother-in-law. So send your best wishes and good thoughts to my wife, myself, my kids, as we mourn the passing and celebrate the life of the wonderful woman that was my mother-in-law. So thank you all again for your support, love, thoughts, everything. Y'all have a great rest of your night. Peace.